Hello to all in APAC and to everyone else around the globe that has taken the time to join us today. I'd like to offer you a very warm welcome to the 2023 Henry Stewart event, Creative Operations Asia Pacific. As way of an introduction, I'm your chair for this amazing event. My name is Amanda Gower, and I proudly lead creative services and production operations globally for Schneider Electric. So, I will shortly be introducing you to our fabulously talented speakers that we have in the lineup today. But before I do this, I'd like to take the time to celebrate what creative services and operations, in fact, what you do in your role. We're often known as the quiet achievers, the backstage miracle workers, if you like, the engine room. And I would like to acknowledge the positive impact that you have on your organization today as creative services professionals. These organizations, your businesses, face an unprecedented amount of competition, more than ever before. Companies are all vying for business or trying to convince the same consumer in the same market to choose your product, your services, your solutions, your software, by delivering those targeted messages explaining how we can resolve one of your problems. What that means is that we must ensure our companies today work extremely hard to stand out from the crowd. And how we do that and how are we involved? So of course we do this through creativity in branding, cultural branding, advertising, content, marketing. And as the strategically operational force behind that, if we get this right, this can become the key differentiator for your business. So I truly believe the long hours we work and the tight deadlines we all manage to meet somehow deserves recognition. Of course, don't just take it from me. It's not just my opinion. I'm not the only one to believe this. This is actually backed by data. So according to a recent Adobe Forrester report, 81% of company executives believe that companies that focus more on creativity gain greater business benefits. Business benefits such as revenue growth, increased market share. Now, not only is that great news for the business, but because we help bring order, timeliness, and financial efficiencies to the entire creative process, we can make an enormous impact through what we do and what we are passionate about. And we do this by providing that critical left brain, right brain, symbiotic relationship that is required to deliver on all aspects of creative. You simply cannot have one without the other. I liken this to ensuring that creative campaigns and projects are planned, they're crafted, created, developed, and of course, delivered at the highest quality, on time and on budget. Because the creatives can exercise their right brain functions whilst operations can exercise their left brain functions. Now, of course, we all use all parts of our brain to deliver the results, but it's like the single-minded proposition that focuses on one message as to not overwhelm your consumers. I'm extremely passionate about what we do as creative services professionals. I've been working in the creative space for just under 30 years, and I've seen a huge shift in our industry and can truly understand the tangible business benefits that we bring. We're no longer seen as a luxury, but a necessity. And I could talk more about the inner workings of the mind and how creative and operations cannot live without the other, a bit like Bert and Ernie and Tom and Jerry. But for now, it is important to acknowledge the impact you all have on your respective organizations and why. It's important we're reminded about that and we celebrate it often. which is what our organisers, our speakers, and our audience are doing today. And in the words of Henry Stewart, welcome to the ultimate celebration of all things creative operations. So before I introduce you to our phenomenal first speaker, I'd like to encourage you to make the most of the event, chat with your fellow attendees, make the most of the expert speaker lineups. You can submit your questions using the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of your screen. You can use the chat tab to get the conversation going. You can also jump into the lounge tab where you can participate in real-time networking with your industry peers. And finally, if at any point during the event you need assistance from the Henry Stewart team, please use the chat bot on the bottom right of your screen. Now, I can no longer hold my excitement in anymore. I have the absolute privilege and absolute pleasure to introduce you to our first fabulous speaker, Monica Forlano, head of AFL Studios, as she takes us through the evolution of AFL Studios. Over to you, Monica.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I appreciate that introduction. And I'm super proud of my creative team, my creative operations team. I'm delighted to share with you all today the work we've been doing over the past 24 months in sports entertainment. Before I start, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we live, learn and work today. I'm in beautiful Gadigal country of the Eora Nation in Sydney region of Australia, and I pay my respect to elders past and present and extend this acknowledgement to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples on this event. So I'm just going to share with you now my screen. I just wanted very proud to head up AFL Studios, which started out as an in-house creative agency and news publishing operation for the biggest sport league in Australia. And as I'll explain, it evolved into also becoming the AFL production house for original programming. Some of you outside of Australia region may be wondering, what is AFL? So what better way to explain than with a hype reel my team put together.
It's unlike any other game in the world.
Buddy Franklin onto the scene. Franklin, this is Buddy Franklin!
Otherwise known as Aussie Rules, AFL or footy, Australian football is chock-a-block full of non-stop action, athleticism, hard hits, and heart-stopping moments.
Seed from the boundary. Needs to be inch perfect.
This is Australia's game.
Not even kidding. The Professional Men's League, the AFL, is the most attended domestic sports league in the world per capita. It's made up of 18 teams across the country.
The AFLW is the women's competition, formed in 2017 and growing rapidly ever since.
If the Melbourne Cup is the race that stops the nation, AFL football is the sport that consumes it. 15 million fans. 1 in 2 Australians play, watch or go to the footy. Who do you barrack for? It's the first thing we ask. The life of the nation wrapped up in the stories of footy. This game, like no other, is part of who we are, and it's the soap opera that dictates the rhythm of our lives. This is us.
So AFL Studios is part of the digital team at the AFL, which manages our owned and operated web and app services that deliver 6 million users per month with 10 million video views. And on social, we have 4 million followers. However, we don't produce match day coverage. Our broadcast partners, Channel 7 and Foxtel, handle the match production for all AFL and AFLW games. But we do own all the vision and IP, and we're able to deliver highlights direct to our social and digital channels through our broadcast deals. In 2020, one of the innovations I introduced at the AFL was utilising an AI platform to deliver match highlights direct to our social channels and our platforms. We worked with WSC Sports to utilise our game statistics and the video feed from the broadcasters with the platform's ranking system to deliver templatable clips. The platform's ease of use, which allowed for automatic topping and tailing and adding match stats to the graphics, enabled us to increase the number of highlights that we could monetize with our sponsors. Over time, the platform has learnt to rank passages of play with 1 to 5 star and allows us to create 6-minute highlights or longer mini matches or best plays by individual players automatically. By using the WSC Sport platform, we were able to drive efficiencies and free up our skilled editors and facilities to work on long-form original programming. We believe we've increased our highlights production and publishing by 10-fold since 2019, resulting in last year our AFL account reaching 1 million followers on Instagram. I gave you a bit of a preview, but now, did you know that the AFL has one of the largest sports archive collections in the world? We even have film dating back to 1909 of a grand final. Managing this extensive video archive was inefficient and relied on skilled technicians to access the vision, which is on film, 1-inch tape, digibeta, and other formats. The shelf life of the physical tapes meant that we could eventually end up losing precious vision of our sport forever. So distribution and reproduction of tape footage as short clips and stories was challenging, as it was not scalable for digital consumption in multiple video formats. In 2021, we engaged Silvertracks to digitise the video archive, which consisted of 22,000 physical assets. And the objective was to digitise the on-premises videotapes and film and migrate them to cloud on AWS so that the archives can be searched and retrieved easily via our MAM and media asset management platform, Flex. Fortunately, with the statistical match day data going back to 1998 and the meticulous logging of isolated camera vision, we are now able to migrate the metadata along with the digitised assets into a powerful MAM service. We're currently in the process of migrating over 1 million stills from our archive and meticulously researched accompanying metadata tagging onto the Flex to complete the digitisation process. The metadata of our motion archive before 1998 isn't as comprehensive, so we hope to be able to use the stills and associated tagging to implement facial recognition, machine learning on the older vision. This will then help us identify past players in our archive to fill the metadata gaps. On the right of screen is a clip from a short of the history of the Premiership Cup our team produced for last year's men's grand final. Our producer was able to delve into the stills and motion archives on the MAM to bring the story to life. And the Cup, as it was called, ran in the lead up to the broadcast of last year's men's grand final on our post-broadcast at Channel 7, as well as on our owned and operated platforms. The digitising of the archive allows us to develop new formats and create original programming, from historical sports documentaries to other formats such as quiz shows, game shows, social history, and other entertainment content. We're expanding the ways we can engage our fans outside of just the match itself and match highlights. For instance, we utilised the colorised vision of the women's exhibition matches from the last century to tell the story of how we completed the 18-club season of last year's AFLW launch. So that was this campaign our team created. It's probably one of the most emotive campaigns we've done, and I was very proud of our in-house department for doing that. Last year, we entered the world of digital collectibles with Leaders in the Field and Amoka. We launched our first AFL Mint, and our goal is to own the direct-to-customer relationship, and one way to grow fandom is through NFTs, where fans can own a digital copy of a matchday moment. Our aim was to build a new fandom community that goes outside our borders, and obviously to diversify our revenue streams in a fast-growing global market. How's it going? Well, we started small, but it's going pretty well. We dropped another pack yesterday around the winners of last year's Premiership, Geelong, and as a fan acquisition channel, it's working well, as we know 50% of the Mint community are new customers to the AFL. We also know that 46% of the community engaging on AFL Discord channel are located outside Australia. Currently, only recent seasons are available. However, due to our extensive archive, we will have the opportunity to release rare and exclusive moments as the community and demand grows. And we will receive an ongoing revenue stream with the secondary transaction through the marketplace, which we will launch this year. Oh, sorry. I'll go back to my presentation. Apologies. We've also invested in the facilities upgrade, which will mean a sharp elevation of the production value of our studio content production for our owned and operated channels and broadcast partners. We've upgraded our studios with a 16-metre LED wall and adding polymotion robotic camera heads and AI to auto-track talent on screen. We're adding auto-direct to our podcasts, all leading to efficiencies in post-production. Our next step is to take our production capabilities to the cloud, enabling us to work with anyone in the world. As you saw before, the AFL is consumed by 1 in 2 Australians who either watch, play or attend a game. However, while it's a national league, there are still growth opportunities at home. For instance, one state in Australia, Tasmania, doesn't have a team in the competition. And in 2 of the largest states in the country, New South Wales and Queensland, AFL is not the dominant sport. Where we have seen most growth in participation is with girls and women with the launch of the elite league, AFLW, 7 years ago, which is broadcast from the start, proving the adage, you can't be what you can't see. With the changing makeup of the Australian population, where it's estimated by 2030, 1 in 3 people living in Australia will have been born elsewhere, and therefore in a country where AFL isn't played, how do we convince people who haven't grown up with the sport that Aussie rules footy is for them? Well, quite simply, by connecting with people on an emotional level. We want to tell great human interest stories on universal themes such as the importance of identity, resilience in the face of adversity, and the power of sport to unite a community. Back in 2019, the genesis of AFL Studios began with our 3-year partnership with National Indigenous TV Network and our co-production of Yokai Footy. We developed the format in-house as a weekly show which showcases the First Nation players from the elite to the community level while celebrating their ancient culture. We've just announced that we will continue to produce this series for NITV this year. That same year, we were approached by Amazon Prime to follow the 2020 AFL season and the successful docuseries Making Their Mark. We also developed 2 other documentaries for Amazon Prime, which explore these universal themes. The first we produced under the banner of AFL Studios was Kick Like Taylor, which followed Taylor Harris's journey from her start as the 18-year-old poster girl for the new Women's League to her advocacy against misogynist social media trolls. You may remember her image kicking a ball, which drew social media trolls and covered worldwide. The documentary went behind the scenes of what it takes to be an athlete in women's sport, as Taylor's a world champion boxer and footballer, and a struggle to make it a professional career in the face of social and media scrutiny. That launched in May last year in over 200 countries on Amazon Prime. The other released in July on Amazon was Warriors on the Field, which focuses on 3 First Nation players at different points of their careers in the elite league, 1 retired, 1 current, and 1 rookie. It highlights how the connection to country and their community plays a huge part in their success as athletes and how football is a mechanism to elevate their broader families out of disadvantage. These 2 feature documentaries delved into a couple of social issues that Amazon were keen on exploring: the inequities of women facing sport and society at large, and Black Lives Matter. In August last year, Fearless was released on Disney+. This series followed the season 6 of the AFLW, highlighting the determination of the players in the W League. We're currently in post-production on another AFLW documentary, which answers the question of how do you successfully build a winning team from scratch at a club with new coaches, rookie players, and veterans of the game who have only played 6 seasons. At AFL Studios, we have grand ambitions to produce different formats with diverse talent, to find new ways to grow our fan base and reach a global audience through great storytelling. We're very excited about the future opportunities for AFL Studios and fan engagement in our great sport. Thank you so much for your time.
Wow. Thank you so much, Monica. I don't know where to start. You have introduced so many efficiencies and so much technology into your studios. I've got too many questions to ask you personally. I will go to the Q&A session and perhaps you and I can catch up afterwards. We have a question here from Jackie. How much of your work is produced in-house versus through agency partners? And how do you make decisions about what to keep within the team versus outsourcing?
That's a really good question, Jackie. We actually want to work with best in class. So what we know and what we have in our team is some really great people who know football inside and out. So when it comes to producing panel shows or talking about footy, we're it. But for instance, if we decided to do the latest TVC that we've done, we'll farm it out to, or go out to directors and see who's best, comes back to that response. But a lot of it, like the editing post, is done in-house. When it comes to documentaries, we feel we can only, and I guess this is a guiding principle for us at AFL Studios, we can only tell stories that are authentic, and we can only tell those stories about what we know. So when we're doing a documentary about First Nations people, we will engage First Nations creative, which we did with Unveiling an Icon and Warriors of the Field. And we always look to engage diverse talent to tell their stories. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, it does. We've got far more questions coming in now that we've got time for. However, Abby would like to hear your thoughts on creative operations as a discipline and in-housing as a tool for brands in Australasia, especially in comparison with the UK and the US. How do you think we can grow its place down under?
Sorry, so the question's about creative operations in Australia?
Yeah. What are your thoughts of it as a discipline and in-housing as a tool for brands in Australia?
Yes, I think
I
know that. So I think what it's important that to have in-house creative, I think, for brands, because you are you know your customer intimately. Everyone is working towards that same goal, and owning and your brand and protecting it is best done in a closed shop. How you then convince the rest of the organisation that you're the best is actually the tricky part, because you'll have departments who will want to try someone else and see how that goes. And what I've found, some experience I've had, is that they end up coming back, because any organisation knows their customers, and in a sports sense, our fans. We know them really well. We've got touch points with them every day, so we know what we need to achieve. And actually onboarding other creatives from other agencies takes time, for them to understand your culture and understand your work practices. So I feel my role as head of AFL Studios is to champion my team and to get as much work through our team as possible.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. We have similar challenges where other creative agencies, people go out to use them, and we often have to take what they've done and make it relevant to our brand. So I'm with you on that one, Monica. And how do you manage the usage rights for all the videos at scale? Many of the videos may end up in social media and web touch points. That's something that's close to my heart, managing the usage rights.
We have a good relationship with Alphabet, Google. So we have a YouTube channel. And when it comes to putting up our matches, we actually run an algorithm, I guess, with them, and they actually tell us when a match has been replayed, so we can pull that down. It's a challenge. We're always looking out for technology to help us with that, and for partners to help us as well. We feel though that to really grow fandom, there's a mix of allowing people to talk about the game to grow fandom, and there's a point where we have to protect our digital broadcast and subscription partners from that IP going out into the world. So my team do a lot of work in the background to make sure that we retain as much of that. It doesn't go out into the world. So yes, a very good question, and it's tough and can be expensive.
Yes. And one final question from our audience is a simple question: which dam do you use?
Which dam? Yes, so it's Delete Flex. It's a media asset management product that we actually know is sort of taken up by a lot of the broadcasters in this region and our broadcast partners. So the great thing about that and what we're moving towards is the ability to, rather than, and I kid you not, there are bricks we call of match vision that sometimes gets walked over to us, that then we add to our what we used to do. So now we're looking at how do we deliver those ISO vision or all the match vision directly from their MAM to our MAM and vice versa. So that's very exciting. I sort of geeked out then, but yeah, I'm so happy.
So you're finding efficiencies within automation between dams and MAMs, and that's great.
Absolutely,
yeah, awesome. Just checking. I'm just checking on the time as well. I think we're going to have to leave it there. Again, I'd love to ask you 20, 30 more questions. Your presentation was phenomenal. Thank you very much for your time. Very much appreciated, Monica. And for the audience, up next, we hear from Google's Samit Malkani as he talks us through sparking creativity, the process. And also don't forget to check out the community feed and let other attendees know that you're online and get chatting with your fellow peers. Thanks again, Monica.